All right, Bracken, I have a burning question for you.
Let it fly.
All right. Do you feel that there should be justice for Cole Hocker or not? That is the question I'm pondering at the moment. I have an answer. I have a firm answer, but I want to know yours first.
So I rewatched it today on the treadmill,
Okay.
and I don't think that should be a disqualification. But I agree with the disqualification. If that makes sense.
You got to pick one.
Well, I wouldn't have DQ'd him for that. I don't think. But the German runner claimed it was fine. But if I'm the German Federation, I am filing that complaint and I'm livid if it doesn't go through. So I think since you could argue that guy didn't make it because of Cole, he deserves to be DQ'd, even if I don't think that was an egregious home stretch move. I think it was an egregious positioning mistake by him. But that's also me judging someone who's down there doing it.
Yeah. Well, I think he should have been DQ'd, and I think it was absolutely the right call, and I think he should have been. And I'm a big Cole Hocker fan, and I love watching that guy race. And it was fun to watch him do it. Oh, it was so fun to watch him do it.
Yeah.
But when anytime he intentionally engaged, I mean, he tried to get around, but he intentionally engaged with Farkin and his arms. It went out of his way to make a proactive move, knowing it was going, there was going to be conflict and bumping. I just think you got to set a precedence. It's a precedence type rulemaking, and you can't do it.
And see, my take was that he actually didn't make any bad contact. I think Farkin sold it. He was tired. He was starting to fade. And that little bit of, I could be almost impeded, I might be being touched, was like, it took him out of his rhythm.
I agree with that too.
But the fact that it was in there at all is enough to be DQ'd.
Yeah, and I agree with, it was sold. But those are such split-second decisions. Farkin was going backwards. He got hit. It certainly didn't help him. But, nonetheless, yeah, he was like, well, there goes that. And he probably laid up a little bit after that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you see it, people get tripped when they're tired and they lose 20 meters. They get tripped when they're fresh and they lose one stride. He was tired. And
that's exactly it.
But the thing that happened to him wasn't his fault. Even if I think he sold it a bit,
correct,
it wasn't his fault. And so it has to be someone's fault.
If I'm minding my own business and running hard down the home stretch, and suddenly what I'm doing is impeded upon, whether it goes well or poorly, I think that is your answer right there. Minding your own business and being interrupted.
Yeah.
And it was intense. It was an intentional move. If it was a clip on accident on the heel, that does happen. Things like that. But it was all intentional. He intentionally slid through that.
I just looked at it and said, I'm faster. I need to get through here.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. I did that once in college in a cross-country meet. That exact same thing. Yeah, I got swore at pretty bad by the guys I did that to. They called me a douchebag. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were blocking the trail.
Oh, it was mid-race.
Cross-country, mid-race, and I couldn't get by the guys. There were 3 teammates running abreast.
Oh,
and
they were covering it.
And I couldn't get by, and so I was like, screw this, and I went and did the same thing, but I got yelled at pretty good. Not DQ'd, though.
So what it highlights to me, though, is one of my biggest pet peeves in running, and that is that now I'm not saying this is an example of that, but we hyperfixate on contact during a race, and then we let people move over 3 lanes blocking down the home stretch.
Yeah.
That has gone so far past reasonable racing. You're literally just cutting someone off, and you can't do that at any other point in the race. And they've allowed it to drift 1 lane, and now all the way up to 3, sometimes 4. It's out of control, and I want that to be stopped. But that's going to happen in several finals here, and it's not going to be called, but his move will, because it looked outside the norm and was. We've just accepted this other outside the norm, which I hate it. You're literally saying you're going to beat me, so I'm going to make you slow up and go around me.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my little pulpit. I'm down off it, but I can't stand that move.
Just the drifting out all the way through the finish line in the home stretch.
Yeah, and drifting more as the person comes up on your shoulder.
What do you think it should be like if you drift outside of the lane 2 confines? What do you think the rule should be?
I think the lane you start in is the lane you finish in if you're ahead. Yeah. I don't see any reason to do it.
Mm-hmm. Cole Hocker's been a beneficiary of that exact thing a number of times on the inside rail.
Now explain to me, because people will argue it, but explain to me what the counter to this is. You are not allowed to intentionally impede another runner at any other point in the race. If they start to come up on the backstretch to pass you and you moved out to lane 3, you'd be disqualified. But on the final stretch of the race, why is it suddenly good racing? It's not good racing. The fastest person at that point should win.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no need for it.
I can't argue with that at all. Yeah, and it's commonly accepted, talked about in almost the finish of any endurance or distance race, how that they're going to drift out, they're going to push him wide. It's what happens every race. Creates a slipstream for guys like Cole until it doesn't, right?
I received only one yellow flag in college, and it was in that situation.
What'd you do?
It's coming down a home stretch. Some guy moved out to lane 2, and then by the time he moved in on me on lane 3, I not a shove, but I moved him back where I felt like he should be. I just wasn't going to be run out to lane 6.
Can you imagine being so good and so well within yourself that Cole Hocker can change his biomechanics, arm positioning, and choose to snake through 2 guys like casual?
Turn sideways and shifted a gear with 40 meters to go.
It actually was one of the more impressive things I've ever seen in the home
Have you ever
stretch.
had an option with 40 meters to go in a race?
In an all-out mile or 1,500? No, the guy is a stud. He's a beast. It was an impulse decision because it was his only option, and I totally get it. I'm not even faulting Cole Hocker for doing it. No. I get it. Worth taking a chance, brother, when you found yourself in that position and realized you made some mistakes tactically. Yeah. Same thing. Although he could have downshifted, went to the outside and still qualified, but that's a hindsight decision.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's the example of why a move working for you more than once is actually a bad thing.
Yeah, because you become that same trick pony and then it bites you.
And you count on it. The inside pass has to be something that presents itself and you take it. It's not one that you set up in case.
No, and you set up on purpose.
He now waited for it. So anyway, It's a good lesson. Not that he needs a lesson, but it's a good reminder. And it's unfortunate because he was obviously the fittest guy in that race.
Totally. Well, and now he's got a little more mojo for the 5K, so it'll make the 5K that much more fun to watch for me.
And he doesn't have to run another round of the 15.
Yeah. So point being, I think it was a good DQ. I think they should have DQ'd him 100%. And I'm really excited to still watch him race. So
yeah. And we say that as Cole Hocker fans.
Big Cole Hocker fan.
I tried to think if this was a Spaniard or a Moroccan or a Kenyan or whatever, would I think about it differently? Because I was like, let him through. It's Cole Hocker. He's one of the. It's like, no, who you are shouldn't matter.
I agree. And by the way, for those that don't know, Cole Hocker got disqualified from the 1,500 semifinal for impeding, basically jostling, I think was the official term, where he made contact intentionally. I'm calling it intentional, with another runner to squeeze by in the home stretch to qualify for the finals, and they DQ'd him for that. It's race just got put up on NBC Sports, I think, today, so it's worth watching.
But it continues the pattern of the reigning Olympic champion not winning worlds.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Jakob didn't even make the semis.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else there? That's all I really wanted to know. I wanted to know your take on that.
Yeah, just overall, great world championship of racing so far. And we're only halfway done.
Yeah,
it's racing. It's been racing already. Marathons were great races. Steeplechase, fantastic race. The 1500s have been great races.
Yeah, Beamish, hey?
Yeah. And people keep falling because you can't play around in packs and super spikes.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, he fell, didn't he, early?
He fell as well, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We are recording this earlier in the week, so we don't know. It's probably all wrapped up by the time people are hearing this or close to, but
yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else? Otherwise, we want to get to one sort of quick topic for today's episode.
One pure Training Tuesday. One topic, short and sweet. Go.
We explore it completely. Yes. All right. So this is something I've been thinking about personally as I shift gears for a few months and don't really prioritize racing or race fitness or run fitness as much as I would during a racing season. But of course, being fit and setting myself up for future success is still important, even though I don't have any major races on the calendar that I care about. So we could almost call it the off season. Let's call it that. Or a season of life in which you're focusing on something else a bit too. Is that fair enough?
Yeah. And I want to be clear that people are like, it's not an off season. This isn't, we take your 2 to 3 weeks off and then build base and then whatever. No, we're talking about like an aimless period in your life where there's going to be racing on the other side. It's not like I'm just calling it. I'm not burnt out and need an off season. This is just something else is going to take precedent for a bit. And I don't have a race on the calendar right now.
Yeah.
It's an off season, but it's not the classic off season.
It's a season in which basically I want to say, how can I maximize my fitness the smartest way without an overinvestment? Meaning like, hey, I need life balance right now. This is what we think you should do in order to achieve fitness and balance and make it all work. That's how I'm looking at this more than anything. Is that a fair way to set it up?
It is. And Kirk, this is one of these episodes where I could take 4 different stances minimum and feel confident that I could argue myself into really being happy with how the episode turned out.
Oh, do you want
and I think we've done that in the past, different versions of this, but I have one I believe in most specifically for your specific scenario, which is life needs to win right now. I can't say I'm just going to do big volume this off season and a little bit of whatever. I can't go all in on skill work. I say that all the time. Like, let's make this off season skill work priority. Let's work on your downhill ability, or let's work on your technical. It's not going to be that. So I'm going to have an answer that I haven't given before for this type of question.
Well, you might as well, the floor is yours. You might as well run with it.
I don't need to run very far. I'm just going to say gray zone and speed sprinkles. Boom. End of episode.
Okay, play the music. Wouldn't that be disappointing?
Yeah, best bang for your buck possible out there for time investment and not having to have a specific training plan is run a lot of gray zone, a lot of high-end aerobic work, and a little bit of short, sweet, spicy work when you feel like you want to do something, but you don't have a lot of time. That's how you can spend weeks like that.
Well, my take is a little different. I mean, my plan,
it should be.
I should say my personal plan is a little different, but I can't argue with that. And I think I want to preface this conversation with this. Okay, let's say you start a new job. You have a new kid at home. You have the things that just require you to be present, or you want to be present. For me, it's a fall hobby, right? Where like, I'm not prioritizing weekend long runs on Saturday anymore or Sunday. Like, I'm going to rejig the schedule and try to work around that because I'm doing something else I love on Saturday morning when I normally be running. Doesn't mean I won't run in the middle of the day or won't go shorter than normal, but it just changes things, right? But the angle I think is important is that when I want to be able to race again, I'm pretty dang close to get myself there pretty quickly, not just like slowly slipping away and losing fitness. And then pretty soon it's December and you're sitting there like, wow, if I slip. No, this is like how do I actually, like, if I had to jump in something, I could still be relatively confident that I still have fitness I'm happy with for the moment. And I'm not far away from something I'm proud of on the fitness front. That's how I'm looking at this. You get it?
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes sense. And so to put context to my answer, I think that when time needs to drop and mental engagement needs to drop a little bit, it's important to also have a little bit of fun with that. And my belief is that high volume and low intensity gets you about to the same place as moderate volume with moderate intensity does. Now, long-term, no, but for like 4 to 6 weeks. So if I was let's say a Kirk DeWindt 50 to 60, DeWindt 50 to 60 mile per week runner, I'd go down to like 40 to 45. And I'd run most of it high-end aerobic, a lot of gray zone. Instead of going for 12 miles on one day, I might do 8, 4 out, 4 quicker back, or just run as I feel more or less like quality recovery, easy repeat, more like moderately fun and fast at like a 30% reduction in volume, maybe 20% reduction, and then just rip some short little speed intervals from time to time so that every time I'm running, I'm having fun and I'm maintaining a good amount of fitness because I'm doing some good high-end aerobic work, but I don't have to do long runs and I don't have to do like big threshold workouts. That's kind of my thinking behind this. I'm not saying this is the best practice. That's just where I would go to, where if I have to be doing less miles anyway, I'm going to feel like I'm losing a lot if I also do them at the same intensity I've been doing.
Yeah. Well, we align a lot on actually just those like percentage parameters you just You just shot out there. So yeah, totally. I just think like most people, if you look at the off season, even whatever that means to you, like a lot of us enter that in the winter months. Like there's a fall racing, spurts of races, and then suddenly we have like this abyss of let's say 3 to 4 months, which you can absolutely build fitness, but days are shorter. There's holidays, kids are in school, and there's all sorts of things where suddenly, yeah, you get what I'm saying. Is that like I don't care what that looks like for you or what the cause is, but you just like care about other things too, is point being. And so
Yeah.
I think, just following up on what you said, I think the 2/3 to 3/4 rule is spot on. Run 2/3 to 3/4. 3/4 would be more ideal. 2/3 is a little low, but three
Yeah.
quarters of your peak volume. For me, that's roughly 60 plus down to 45 to 50. That's about that maths, right? Close.
Yeah. It's fine for me and my math skills.
Here's where I think maybe I differ from you, but I want to hear your opinion on it. I find one monster session a week still. Like the one that can hold you over, right? Like you overeat at dinner because you know you're not going to eat until dinner tomorrow again. So you shove it all in for sustenance. It's that version of training, meaning my view is give myself one day to swing. Today I did a 3-mile buy-in, 8 by a quarter, 2-mile cash out, right? And I worked hard. Didn't care about my zones or threshold. I went and worked through the paces in the heat, and I'm like, yeah, I cooked myself pretty good today. But I just ate a big meal, and now it's going to hold me over a bit, and I can litter in stuff that isn't terribly purposeful and know that I'm still going to at least have a placeholder in fitness. So I actually believe in like the one big swing, and then I don't really care how the other volume is filled in, but get one in. That's my approach over these next few months. So what is your take on that?
I love that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, if you're available for that, if you have a day that your time and mind aligns for doing that, absolutely. Lower the volume and replace that with a big day to keep it going. I was not saying something like that because a lot of times in this people don't have the mind set to be able to like, all right, I got to buckle down and get 13 hard today. And then I can chill the rest of the week. It's when you're in a new stage of life, not everyone has that. So if you have this right now and you can dedicate one day where I'm still doing as much as I ever would need to, that's a beautiful day.
And taking handcuffs off a little bit. You and I had talked about staying in, kind of keeping the governor on a little bit and doing pace work and making sure maybe we're not boiling too hot too often. And now it's like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to go work on this day, and it's going to be as subjective as like, I'm going to work hard and whatever that comes. And I did, I worked very hard. And then as long as that happens, I feel like you can litter in shorter runs, recovery type efforts. And then like a good gray zone long run, whatever that looks like for you, like just go run hard. If you feel good, run hard. And if you don't, run slow. And I really think like you're going to maintain like 90% of your probably fitness in that sort of cycle. And so that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I like it. I think that the things you want waiting afterwards have to exist somewhere inside of this.
Explain that, because I agree with you.
If you want to come out of this fast enough to be ready to train for a 5K, you've got to have something around 5K pace present in there. Doesn't have to be a lot. So like in the first example I gave, if I'm doing just a lot of aerobic threshold running and 1 or 2 like short little speed sprinkles per week, those are going to be at like mile pace and 5K pace, and they're going to be like half workouts. And all the rest is just going to be mileage run a little bit too fast because it's all fun. But at least I come out of this ready to run fast. And because I've done a lot of gray zone, in quotes, aerobic, high-end aerobic work, my aerobic capacity is going to be just fine too. I'm going to get a little beat up by my first long run, and I'm going to get a little winded in the second half of whatever my first quality session is back. But the pieces I need are still going to be touched upon and ready. And so if you're doing one big workout per week, you're still touching upon that. Yeah, the frequency isn't enough to like progressively overload really, but it's enough that you're in touch with whatever you need to do next.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's the have your cake and eat it too sort of scenario, meaning if you're going to only eat once, this is a weird analogy, but you might as well have a little bit of everything on the plate to get everything you need, right? And so if you have one focal session each week, which you put on your big boy or girl pants and you're like, even though I don't have a race coming up, like I'm going to find a way to make this very effective today. For example, last week, what was my pillar session? I did 2, but 6-mile tempo, sub marathon pace, followed by 10 by 60, right? I went sub 5 pace, sub 5, like 5K pace or faster on 60, somewhere between half and full pace on the tempo. What did I get? I spent most of that time in threshold on the tempo, and then I got turnover. Today, I got 5 miles of tempo between the 3-mile buy-in and the 2-mile cash out. I got turnover work in the quarters, kind of making a mess of things, really. But at the same time, I'm touching everything. I'm getting a little bit of everything on my plate. And so I think it's the great time. It's a great time of year to do the split tempos, the buy-in cash outs, the have it all sort of scenario, just like you mentioned with like whatever version of speed sprinkles you want to call it. But like you're touching systems every quality session in some capacity. And again, I'm working through this because I've never done this before actually, but I do care about my fitness a lot. And so that's what I'm landing on.
You're doing multi-pace workouts.
Multi-pace workouts.
Which are great. The problem is, if you want to feel like you do enough in the workout, it's really hard to sustain. If you're confident that you can do one workout where you get most of one thing and a little bit of another, and the next workout it inverts, you can string those workouts together. But I think it's a really good system. We did a lot of this in college, but it's hard to get big days like that consistently. You're not going to do it consistently. You can do it once to twice a week, and you're going to be fine. Your volume's lower in between. That's a good, fun way of having a non-off season.
Yeah. When you say you did that in college, I assume you're referring to like your 800 meter training sessions.
Yeah, our fall and winter training was multi-pace training. So we would do, like, for example, we did a lot of a 4 to 6 mile tempo or cut down, followed by 4s or 2s. Or we would do like a 20 to 30 minute fartlek workout, and then hill sprints, and then like fast 150s. Or we would do 3 by 1,000 at 10K, and then 3 by 800 at 5K, and then 6 by 400 at mile. Just a lot of multi-pace workouts that were strength, in quotes, strength running for a middle distance runner. Almost all of it was slower than race pace, other than the things that we tacked on at the end, like 4 by 200 after a tempo. We'd run them at mile, cutting down to 800 meter pace. We were on a bunch of strides throughout the week, much faster than 800 meter pace, but it was multi-pace training. And like you said, split tempos. We do hills and a fartlek and some intervals all on the same day sometimes, but like chunks of each workout, not one full. So we did that in college, and I felt strong and good off it.
And we weren't far off of that in our build or off season. Do you remember how racing went when you jumped back in? This is how it went for me anyways. Slap in the face the first mile of the year. Oh, that hurt. It was intense. 2 weeks later, I may run my PR for the year already. And I'm going to be circling the same waters, because off of that training, it comes around in the snap of a finger. Within weeks, you can shift from what you're talking about or what I'm talking about, multi-pace training, get specific, or just like expose yourself to race type workouts. And then, I mean, most of the years I started PRing like meet 3 of the season, and then circling those same waters for the remainder of it off of that. That's how quick it came around. Now that's a 19, 20-year-old kid who's probably hyper responsive to training, but like a version of that exists, I think, for everybody. And I don't know, I think if you expose yourself to the systems and you do it with regularity, you're just not that far away from being your actual best. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I don't remember what you said. I know you PR'd a lot towards the end of the season sometimes.
Yeah, I did. But I also didn't always have great off seasons. So I was often racing myself into shape. So I didn't have a great off season until my last 2 years. I suddenly had off seasons. Usually I'd stop PRing halfway through outdoor. But indoor, like my senior year, I want to say, by indoor conference, I ran within a second and a half of what my outdoor 1,500 meter time best converted to. So the slap of the race extended feeling, like you could handle the race paces. It was just like by 2 or 3 minutes in, you're like, I haven't held it for this long. This is really hard. that went away quickly. And then you were left with, now I have all this underlying fitness. So I agree. Multi-pace training is great. And the style I presented was touching upon it in isolation, and yours is combine it all together and then just still run a little bit more normally in between. But either way, if you're not having a true off season, it's like it's a bridge, and you want to get to the other side of the bridge with most of what you started the bridge with.
Well, how about this then? If you had, let's say you find yourself in this position, let's call it 3 months of your year, you're going to, like, I want my cake and eat it too. I want to stay fit, but I don't want to devote a bunch of emotional energy and time, we'll call it, into it. I'll outline my week if you would like. And then, I don't know, why don't you give me an example of your perfect week? How's that sound?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. I think if you're available, I think you're running 5 days a week. You don't need to run 6 or 7. I think there's 2 recovery runs in there. I think there's 1 big quality session in there. And I think that there's a version of a long run that you could squeeze in or mishmash, and that long run will be shorter than your typical. You could throw quality into it if you want or not. You can make it a progression if you want or not. It's very loose. And that leaves you with 1 other short dinker of a run to wedge in on a day when you really don't want to, but you should. And so you have 2 recovery runs of typical duration, a big quality session, a version of a long run, and then just a short little, like, grease the groove. If you go out the door for 3-4 miles and you normally run 8, great. Checks the box for the day, keeps the positive momentum rolling. So right now I may even be condensing my schedule into a 5-day, like a Monday through Friday, or just leaving a short little piddly run for the weekend when I'm busy doing other hobbies, like being out in the woods. And so it's as simple as that, really.
I don't really have an issue with that. I think for 2 to 3 months, that's probably the way to go. Now, if you're the other type of mentality, I would take that big one and split it into 2 smaller ones. Instead of hitting one on 100 to 110% workout and then like a medium long run and some easy stuff, I would do 2 like 70% workouts. But like either way, it's the same general concept. Do less of it, either less frequency or less duration. One of the 2. But if it was a shorter break, like a 2 to 4 week stretch, I think I would do I'm going to reduce volume and run everything a little bit faster. And then 1 or 2 short little speed workouts per week.
So like you might just go roll and you might run 10 or 15 beats a minute above typical recovery heart rate zones just because.
Yeah, I would never do a workout that needed recovery.
Right.
If it was just 2 to 4 weeks, I think I would run like around marathon pace most days, a little slower.
That sounds
start slower and move up to it with like 20 to 40% reduction in volume. So if I would normally, for me, let's say, if I would normally run on an easy day, let's say during training, 8 to 10 miles at 6:30 to 7-minute pace, I'm going to run like 5 or 6 starting at like 6:30 and cutting down to 6-minute pace. Every single time, some version of that. No stress on it, but just there's the easy running that is like, I know I'm holding back to make it an easy run because I have something big coming up. It's hard for a lot of people to stay in zone 2. It's not as fun. It's sometimes slower than you'd want it to be. I would do the opposite. I would use the type of easy running that feels fantastic. Just like, this feels kind of fast, but it's still going easy. And then after a while, it stops being easy. You're like, oh, this is why they don't do this every day. I would just cut the run right before it got bad each day.
How would you juggle that in relation to like your half quality day then? Like you do that the day before a day with some spice in it?
It would so much would be, but let's just say I'd start the week with my spice. Okay. So Monday, I would just do like 10 by 200 at mile pace or something like that. 20-minute warm up, 20-minute cool down. I've got an hour of work total in for the day, but 10 by 200 at miles, like not a big workout, but it feels good. None of the reps are going to hurt. You're just going to run fast and feel good. And then Tuesday, I would just run how I feel. And then Wednesday, I would run how I feel and then a little bit faster. And Thursday, run how I feel and a little bit like fast. And then Friday, I'd run another version of that. I'd run some fun little mini workout. And then Friday, Saturday, I'd do, again, run how I feel. And it's going to be a little bit faster because everything's going to be that, let's just call it a 25% reduction in volume. And if I ever look at the weekend and say it's going to be a great weekend, then I just decide to do an impromptu long run. But
How
if I
often
don't have the time, I could get this done. Not only are you doing less volume, but you're running it faster. You could do, I don't know, let's say 25% less volume, but it might be like 30 to 35% less time.
Right. Yeah, and you could get away with that until you shift again into like, okay, now I'm hitting bigger
Just 2 to 4
workouts with
weeks.
consistency. Yeah. It's
So
a
I've talked
shorter
about
window.
this like when we had a baby and I was training and I didn't want to miss time, but I also wasn't like leaving the house much. I would just go out and run at least a mile every day, but I just run it fast. And I think one time I went like up to 20 days where I just didn't have a plan. I just left the house to run them like between 1 and 3 miles. And I just ran them like pretty fast. At one point I ran 10 straight days where I just ran a mile in like 5:40 or under.
Do you remember what happened when that all wrapped up and you started to ramp back into purpose?
I just felt like more efficient.
Really?
Yeah.
How about
Now, if I
like
would have done that, that was 10 days of that one.
Mhm.
10 to 20 days is about what I would do for that. But it's not so long that you're really losing anything. But each day is like a little anaerobic hit. By the end, I'm anaerobic.
Mhm.
A bunch of the times I would run 5:20 to 5:30 out the door, just no warm up. At the time, I was probably in like 15:50 5K shape. So 5K pace was, call it 5 flat ish. I'm running 20 seconds per mile slower than 5K pace. Just run out the door at 5:40 pace, build up to 5:20, and then maybe the last bit go underneath that, like 5:10, 5 flat, and then I'm done. Like I'd start sweating in the last quarter mile, and then I'd be
Mhm.
anaerobic, and then I'd be done. And 10 minutes later, it's like I hadn't done anything. And I did that one time for like, I think I did at least 10 days straight of running between 5:20 and 5:40 in a mile for like 1 to 1.5 miles.
Yeah, do you remember like how racing went once you got back ramped up?
I didn't have a race right away at that point. So
Okay.
that time would have been Ayla, who is in February.
Hmm.
So she's February 17th. So like I was done before the end of February with that one. And then just picked right back up with my training. But I was used to now just getting right into like a fast, snappy stride. And it started to be more comfortable to get right into that.
Hmm.
Longer runs became almost a relief. Like, oh, I get to dawdle, but my turnover is a little better. I just felt good on that. Yeah, I was not as ready for a big workout, but that's why I said for only like 2 to 4 weeks. 4 would even be pushing it. Like 2 to 3 weeks. A short. Now that was the extreme version, right? I wouldn't recommend that very often. But something lower volume, faster running, just have fun for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks while life is the main stress.
Hmm.
It's not like a scientific method, but it's engaged. There's something about enjoying running because it's slightly fast, but not costly. Like if that was 20 seconds per mile slower than 5K pace, 1 mile at that does not require recovery.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think about like let's say like I think I do always want my cake and like to eat it too, so to
Yeah.
speak, as so like maybe prioritizing I think every 3 weeks. I wouldn't want to go longer than that. 3 weeks hitting a true long run like okay, yes, this is your long run of old. I'm going to go 16 today. I'm going to force it, right? Maybe 3 weeks. What do you think? If you again, you want it all, you want to disengage at times, but you still want to be ready-ish. Do you think 3 weeks is enough? I think 3 weeks is enough
I do.
for this phase. Not if you're in competitive phase or leading into it, but
Yeah. And if you're backing away from this because of life, usually every 3 weeks you can find something. Just one day.
correct.
And 4 weeks is enough that it's a little bit of a struggle each time you do it. And 2 weeks is low enough that you might spend a whole week like feeling a little off each time because you're doing more than you're used to, or whatever it is. Like maybe I ran it too hard, or maybe it's fine. But 3 is a good spot where the long run is a novelty every 3 weeks. Like, oh, I haven't done this in a bit. This is fun. But you've
Correct.
done it enough that you haven't lost the ability to do it.
That's where I find the novelty comes back. You're kind of probably craving it again. Like, hey, I
Yeah.
just want some time on feet, right? So I think every 3 weeks is where I've landed on, and then I think if you're exclusively not racing and you're doing my approach, which is a one big one a week, I really don't think you're going to be that far off of actual potential. Like if you took a case study and let's say in peak training, let's just say you're a 20-minute 5K or something, and then you reduce volume by a quarter and you go to one of these models we're talking about. Like, what do you think a 20-minute 5K or races? They sit in this for 2 months. What are they running? 2030?
2020, 2030. Yeah.
Right? And how long do you think it would take to get back to former 20-minute self? 4 weeks,
Less.
maybe, right? If you're consistent with your non-committal phase of training. So I think it's like, I don't know. It seems like a decent give and take. It seems like a nice, I don't know, approachable
if you're just
balance.
bridging 2 seasons of life,
right?
You just hang on to what you can and you give up what you don't need. You don't need peak volume. You don't need the pure long run. You don't need big, nasty workouts unless you're giving up all other things and you just keep the big, nasty workout in order to keep touch with all the other things.
Have you ever gone through a period of this?
The closest, I mean, yeah, I've had versions of this, but the closest to this, what you're describing, I had 2 falls. My first and second years of seriously running a Spartan race. First and second or first and third, one of the two, where I got through Spartan World Championships and there were a bunch of money races still around. But the internet wasn't what it is now. And forums and social media were not what they are now. And so it wasn't as easy to find information. And so I'd get done with something and I'd be like, all right, I've got a race in a week. So I'm just going to run 3 times this week. And midweek, I'm going to hit a mini quality. And then I do the next week. And then at that race, someone would be like, hey, in 2 weeks, there's a race down wherever. And I heard they're putting up money. Like, all right, well, I'll do this for like 2 more weeks. And then I hear like, hey, there's one in Mississippi. We should go down and do that. And so Macaulay and I were living together at that time. And we were running like 3 to 5 times per week. But like half of it was mini quality sessions. Like the 1, 2, 3 fartlek, for example, I was doing 2 rounds of it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 12 minutes of quality.
12 minutes of quality, but then there's floating in between on that one. So it's a 24-minute workout. And the floats like get you back down to almost aerobic. But it's not a big workout, but it's enough that you feel fast doing that because it's not until the 3rd round that it becomes work. So you just feel great and it's fun. And you're like, man, I am fit. I'm fast right now. I'm good. And you carry, like I had a big block of work leading up to it. So I'd probably go 5 weeks. Probably both times I went about 5, 6 weeks running the week after a race 3 times. If it was the 2 weeks after, I'd run 5 times, but I'd hit like 2 quality sessions a week, but they were minis.
Yeah. And in that scenario, then your races are your big stimulus, and that's the big meal that feeds you, holds you over for a while.
The quality like kind of kept me from eroding and the race kept me sharp. And it was fun. It was a fun fall of running because the weather was getting better. And it just felt like every time we ran, we were running kind of fast, but we were never miserable. And you could tell, like, I don't want to go run a 13-mile race off this. But that like 4 to 8 mile range was working pretty well.
Yeah, and in that day and age, I think you would also see some diluted fields at times, right?
For
so
sure.
You could get away with it. Like, hey, I could be at 85% and still win, right?
Chill for 4 miles of an 8-mile race.
And then get to work. Yeah.
But the important part is that it was fun. And the second important part was that it was good for my family because Spartan World Championships were such an arduous task to train for as a Midwest person that you're driving at least twice a week to find a ski hill. And so those 2 to 3 hour ski hill workouts, we talked about this before, those are 4 to 5 hour days away. And that, as the race got closer and the volume built up, like it became a time suck in my life. So it was also nice to be able to just bridge that season to the next season by saying, I'm going to stay fit, but I promise I'm not going to do the volume I'd been doing.
Yeah, I think the other thing to look at, and just so I think people would know, like in my current situation, like I like to go bow hunting and I have a bunch of friends that do it. And on the weekends, I got up at 3:15 on Saturday morning, like 3:15. And then I didn't get back to home base until 10:30. Like, am I really going to have a productive long run with quality in it in the middle of the day Saturday? No, right? No. And then I went back out at 3:00 and didn't get home, and we didn't get to bed till 11. And then I got up again the next day at 4. You get what I'm saying. And I love all that. But the other thing I'm thinking about, like, so there's scenarios like that for everybody, whether it doesn't, whatever it is like the weekly schedule, like being so regimented, like Tuesday I do this, Saturday I do my long run, Thursday's my midweek long run. Now it's like, I may have a Thursday where I find a time gap of 2 hours and I say, well, there it is. Go out and get as far as you can in this amount of time, Kirk, and call it your long run box for the week, because it's not coming anywhere else. And so I think the like malleability piece to those phases of training are like really important too. So like just scrambling the system a little bit and shooting your shot when you have it, instead of being, and I'm as structured as anybody gets, like sticking to your exact structure. So I think that's like another thing that you should really entertain. Like, heaven forbid you do your quality on a Tuesday and then you find out something cancels and you have a window of time on Wednesday, the next day after quality. You go, well, if it's not now, it's never. So then you suddenly have a quality day on Tuesday and a long run on Wednesday, but you got it done for the week, and that's okay. And of course you're going to pay the piper Thursday, Friday, Saturday because of it, but who cares at this point? You're not trying to peak for anything. And so I think like losing attachment to the schedule is important too. And so that's part of it as well for me. And I think others should look at it that way too.
Did you hear this motorcycle starting up outside?
No.
It's about to rev a little bit.
Oh, these mics are good. No. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so anyways, so I'm facing this next week. So next week it's called Grands 9. It's the 9th running of the North American Grand Championships for karting, for 4-cycle karting. So Braden and I are going Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Wednesday is a travel day and a setup day. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he's out on track. So last year, what I did was I front loaded. I did big stuff on the weekend and leading in, knowing that I probably won't get to anything while I'm there. And it wasn't good, because these things are a little stressful. Like, there's some anxiety that builds when you're out on track with 40, 50 other karts, and they're all good, and people are crashing left and right. And this is a faster track. So instead of them going low 50s, they're getting up towards 60, low 60s. And he wrecked 3 times last year. So it's just like, it's a high anxiety event. And I found myself missing working out, but I didn't have time to do a lot. So I'm going to do I'm doing a version of that this year. I'm going to every day just run like 1 to 3 miles of tempo and be done. If I just run a 2 to 3 mile tempo, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, what is my total investment there?
Like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Maximum.
Half an hour with the start and finish and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So over the course of 4 days, the maximum, absolute maximum would be 2 hours of investment.
Mm-hmm.
I can find 20 to 30 minutes a day in there. That's fine. Like, if we have to be on track by 8 a.m., I've got to be up working on that cart probably by 6:30 to make sure 6:45. That means I can get up at 6, go just like roll out of bed, roll a 20-minute tempo, get back, stop sweating, eat something, and still be working on the cart by 6:45.
Now, you're talking about 37-year-old Brakken Kraker, not 25-year-old Brakken Kraker.
Well, that's not, I'm not running 520 pace. It might be 620. Is it going to
work the same? Okay. Is it going to work the same?
We're going to find out. But even like 1 mile tempo every morning there, I'll come back not having gotten any worse. 100%. But it'll lower my stress a little bit for the day.
Yep. I like that approach for you. Is that what you're doing next weekend?
Yeah, that's what we're going to have to do. We leave next Wednesday morning. So that's my plan. We'll see how well it goes. But I know now, having felt it once, I got to be able to de-stress a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a sport I can totally detach myself from and be like, win, lose, draw, who cares? Like, right. I might have like an injured kid here or a very injured cart, and I got to get to work after. Like, there's just too much anxiety present for me to be totally aloof from it. I'm a pretty low stress person, but it gets to me a little bit.
It's because you care.
Yeah.
Yeah. You care about something else other than your running, in addition to your running.
Yeah. And so I can't stress about my workouts that week, but I do still need them to de-stress from this.
That's probably actually a good way to describe, except there's not a lot of stress other than early mornings in my life.
I mean, stress is stress, right? Time on feet
Right.
is stress.
Yeah.
Lack of
Yeah.
sleep is stress.
Yeah. I think, well, I don't know if I have a whole lot to add to this other than summarizing.
I think we're in a good spot here.
Yeah. I mean, we could babble on about it and extract a little bit more, but I think the big thing, my opinion, one big swing, don't get married to your typical schedule. It's okay if things get scrambled around a little bit to make it work. It doesn't have to be perfect. Reduce volume by 25% and swing big once a week. If you get your long run in, great, even if it's not on the typical day. And if not, yeah, I think a little gray zone running to fill the space on the others. And I think you're probably perfect. And within 3 to 5 weeks of returning to ready to race training, you will actually be ready to race and probably not taken any steps back whatsoever. That's my plan. Any summation on your end?
No, instead, I'm going to use this platform selfishly.
Okay.
I just want to ask the experts out there. So I have this thing that happens in my left leg, Kirk. We've never talked about this. On the outside of my calf, if you just run your arm along the pure outside of your leg, the amount of calf you're holding there, I get this, it comes and goes, but it feels like I had my calf in the sun for a long time, or like I might have a sunburn going. Like it doesn't feel burnt, but like when your skin feels hot, you can feel when your skin's hot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like there. And I just get this sometimes, and I'm getting it right now. So I shouldn't say obviously, but obviously that strikes me. That's a nerve thing.
Yeah, that's what I would agree.
But I want the experts out there. If you have like any specifics for me on that, whether it's recommendations or like you need to go see a doctor or you're fine or try this stretch, send them over. I'm curious to hear what you think.
Does it happen in relation to anything that you put together? Sitting, standing, a post pre-workout?
No, I haven't found any relation. I think it happens more with stress or anxiety, but I don't know.
Do you also notice like your lower back's tight or you have some hip tightness with it or anything?
No,
Nothing, huh?
Because right now my lower back and hips aren't notably tight, but I'm having it. And I've had it a few times this week now. So I'm very curious what people say. It's like a patch the size of like my palm. It just feels like I got too much sun on that area.
I can't help you there, but it does sound neurological.
Yeah. And so there's always people who are experts in areas out there listening. So if you are and you know this, like this is me asking for your advice.
If you're an armchair expert, keep it to yourself.
No, I want to hear it all.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And things like this, I feel like even if it leads you in the wrong direction, sometimes there's something you hear there and you're like, oh, but I could draw off that.
Everybody inundate Brakken's IG messenger with any random thought you have about this. That would be fun.
Perfect. Thank you.
Maybe it is a sunburn.
That would be shocking. I just always find the sun with that area of my leg.
Yeah, like you have this favorite spot on the couch you sit and the light comes through the window and it hits you in that general area every time and like it's actually a sunburn.
I know you're joking, but I have gone through that entire thing, like every possibility I can think of that could be not neurological. I've gone through and I can't find anything.
All right, go to work, internet. Do your worst.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.